You are listening to the Examine Life with Bram Levinson. So it is a rainy, quarantine kind of Monday. Monday afternoon. It is pouring rain. It's been pouring rain here for well over the past day. And it's very conducive to staying in, I must say. Very cozy. Not great weather to walk the dog out in, but in the era of social distancing, the least I can say is that there is no one around in this weather and in this current situation. So it makes it much easier for me to walk the dog. There are a couple of things that I wanted to put out to you all. Stuff that has come up over the past couple of days, past couple of weeks actually, in my interactions with clients and with students and with friends, and just in my own observations of this situation that we find ourselves in, which, as I said in the last podcast episode, really is, for me, an extremely unique, once-in-a-lifetime situation. This moment in time where the entire world has come down to a grinding halt, where the economy, as we know it, the global economy, has just sort of wound down, where it doesn't matter, who I'm speaking to or where in the world they are, we are all living the exact same experience. This is completely unique, never seen before, never experienced before by me or I think by any of you. And there are so many things to be taken from it. There are so many ways to interpret it. There are so many stories going on. For starters, I believe that what is going on is meant to have everybody stop. I think that everybody was just trying to keep up with a frenetic pace before, trying to keep up with life at a rhythm that was not sustainable and that a lot of people were suffering from and because of. And now we've all been given this opportunity to stop, or at least to slow down. For those of you working remotely from home, you may still be working, but things have slowed down. We don't have to get places. We don't have to get back from places. For those of you who were used to being in transit, going to and from work every day for, however long you were in transit for, you have that time now. That time is a bit of a gift. And as I say with any situation, nothing is ever one thing. And so right now there are really, really, really great aspects of the situation that we find ourselves in, that we are being forced into. You can look at what's going on as the end of the world and just, horrific, and seen through specific eyes and certain lenses. Yeah, it is. When you look at the things that we have going for us now that we will give up when life as we used to know it picks back up and we fall back into that relentless rhythm, there will be things about this that you miss. There will be moments of quiet and the ability to just, spend the whole day in comfortable clothes and be with the people who maybe you want to be with, the people in your life, at your home. So there are definitely aspects of this that are not horrific, quite the contrary. And as I've said to many people, many clients and many friends over the years who were single and wanted to be in a relationship, I've helped them, figure their way into those relationships for the most part. But I've done it by saying to them, don't be blind to the things that you have going for you now that you will give up when you get into a relationship. Because we do give up things. When you find yourself not single anymore, that bed is not solely yours. And you, all of a sudden are not just finding your own stuff that you left wherever you left it lying around your place. You're finding other people's stuff. And all of a sudden we're picking up after each other, and we're making compromises with each other. So listen, all I'm saying is that nothing is ever one thing. Okay, everything co-arises with its opposite. So in this moment, if you're finding it unbearably horrific, my advice to you is to look for the things that are fantastic. Look for the luxuries that you have going for you now that you potentially will have less of, or you will give up when things get back to what we used to know as normal. So, with that said, let's talk about this experience of having to social distance ourselves from each other, and yet marrying that with the necessity of having to go out into the world every now and again. of being told that going to the supermarket is potentially a dangerous experience versus having to go to the supermarket and live every moment of that. You know, there is this paranoia that is settling in. There is this fear of, have I done everything that I can do to make sure that I don't fall ill? And while science has given us as much evidence as they can give us about how we contract this virus and things to look out for and best practices on how to bring what you've bought from outside into your own private space, what's happening is people are going into that place of fear and what if, thinking, well, what if there's stuff about this virus that we don't know? And what if me going to the supermarket is more dangerous than I thought it was? And maybe what if social distancing isn't enough? And so what I'm seeing anyway in my experiences with people is that there is a lot of anxiety. There is a lot of, okay, I'm making this decision. I have to go get the food. I'm going to get the food. I've gone to get the food. I've come back with everything. I have disinfected packaging. I've removed stuff from packaging. I've burnt a layer off my hands. All of the things that, we're being told to do. And yet once it's all done, we're sitting down with ourselves and just wondering, oh God, did I do everything as perfectly as I could have? And there's this crazy anxiety. It's normal. It's normal. This is a situation that is a one-off. It's a first. And so it's normal that we are sitting with that anxiety. My advice for anyone who is finding themselves with that anxiety is to look for the evidence in the moment as to whether they are okay or not. We can spend a lot of time in this situation playing the what if game. Every time you do that, it will not be helpful. So my advice is pay attention to what is. Right now, if you're well, shut up that part of your mind that is bringing you into the scary place and just focus on the fact that you are well, and then pay attention to what is happening in real time in your immediate environment and situation. The other thing that I want to mention is that there is a collective free-floating anxiety going on in the world, but more specifically in our communities. So if you go to the supermarket or you go to the drugstore or you go to walk your dog and you come back and you feel that anxiety, I want you to consider that you are simply feeding off of, or rather feeling, being empathetic to that free-floating anxiety that is emanating off of everybody around us. It is only normal, especially in a global situation where we are all in this together, it's only normal that there would be an energy that would be emanating off of us as a collective species. So, as a species of human being that is in a moment of tension, it is normal that we are emanating that tension. And it is even more normal that some of us are more sensitive to that, not realizing that we are absorbing other people's energies. Be aware of this, really wake up to it, and when you see that you are displaying this anxiety, these sensations of paranoia, of fear, of doubt, ask yourself if perhaps you are simply a receiver for the energy that is everywhere around us right now. And going along with that, something I mentioned in the last podcast, stop paying attention to the news. The more you pay attention to it, I'm not saying don't pay attention to it. Check in once or twice a day. But if you're plugged into that energy all the time, you are going to suffer. It's only normal. It's going to land in the body as tension and as fear, and that's going to bring your mind into dark, dark places. And may I just add, places that not only are not helpful, but that right now, in your experience, aren't. They're not real. They're just stories. You want to pay attention to what is real for you. That is the best way to stay in wellness and health. I believe anyway. Something else I wanted to address, the financial situation. The economy has come to a grinding halt. People's livelihoods have been affected, business owners, people who have been laid off, people who have had to lay off their employees. This is something that is happening everywhere, and everyone in their own specific way is worrying about what this is going to look like financially. Is this the end? Is this the ruin? And let me just say that this is occurring because we have been conditioned to believe throughout our lifetime that the gods that we need to pray to are materialism and money and economy. Now, I'm not saying that these things aren't valid and that we don't need to pay attention to them. But for us to believe that this is what makes us worthy or not worthy, that money is the determining factor on whether we're going to live or die, survive or not, is foolish. My advice to everyone is to stop going into the how is this going to go wrong mindset and consider that this may be the opportunity that every single one of us on some level has prayed for, to redesign what we do with our time for our livelihoods to see how things could go potentially beautifully, blazingly right. If you find yourself in a moment of uncertainty, I want you to remember the phoenix from the flame analogy or metaphor or story or whatever. I want you to consider that this moment of downtime is your opportunity to maybe change, rebrand, diversify, do whatever you have wanted to do but didn't have the time to do or didn't think you had the opportunity to do, so that when things start to kick back into gear, and they will, all of a sudden you have a brand new outlook on what you do for your business, for your livelihood, for money. Consider that this is not necessarily an opportunity for us to go into worst case scenario, but to go into best case scenario. What if this is the opportunity that every single one of us really could benefit from in order to turn things into what we wanted them to be all that time? What if this is a massive opportunity? What if right now you're being given the opportunity to get creative, to get down to business, and to redesign your life? It doesn't have to just be for your livelihood or for your business or how you make money. This could be, what do you want? Right now, everybody has been forced to slow down. And maybe some of you have found yourselves at home, alone, with a lot of time to think, wondering how you got into this situation. Typically what happens is one thing leads to another, and we start to follow that rhythm, and we start to live according to that rhythm, believing that that's what life is, a series of opportunities that guides us in a specific direction, and we go and we make the best of it. I reject that completely. I think that life is what you make it. And I think if right now you find yourself in a situation where you're not happy with something, redesign. Redesign. You're being given an opportunity to divide your life in before this happened and after this happened. And so why not take that opportunity? Be brave, be courageous. You have everything going for you right now to be able to do that. We all do. Lastly, what I wanted to say is that if there was ever any doubt that we are not connected, then let that doubt be dispelled. It doesn't matter where in the world you are listening to this right now. You are living the same experience I am. You are living the same experience your enemy is. You are living the same experience that person across the world who you didn't think had anything to do with you. You're living the exact same experience as that person. We're all in it together. We can do this together. We are going to do this together, like it or not. And I predict that once we come out the other side of this, there's going to be a lot of emotion. I'm hoping that a good chunk of that emotion is going to be the emotion tied to waking up to unity. Waking up to realizing that all of the differences that we've always paid attention to and that we allowed to dictate how we treat each other were insignificant. What matters is that we're here together. This is survival. This is, the opportunity to emerge triumphant as a collective. I want you to give all of this a good think, especially what I was talking about the anxiety that we're feeling off of people, and about how you're approaching this from a livelihood point of view, about the finances, about business. Trust that most of our governments, if not the majority of our governments, are not going to allow an entire country of businesses and workers to go bankrupt. Okay, there are reserves for these kinds of things, and what we're seeing is that those reserves are being unleashed. These powers are being, made available. And so instead of going into worst case scenario right now, why don't you just wait and ride it out, and in the meantime, make the most of this time and this opportunity to redesign. Redesign how you want the next steps to go, because you have more of a say in this than you think you do. We all have more of a say in how things go when external, unforeseen circumstances start to provide chaos into our equation. You are not meant to be held hostage by this. You are meant to stand up and look it square in the face and ask how this can be an opportunity, not an obstacle or the stumbling block that potentially ruins you. So it's time to change the mindset. It's time to feel powerful. It's time to wake the fuck up. Whatever you call it, universe, universal source, life, is asking us to wake up. That's how I see this. So it's time to wake up. Give it all a good think. I'll see you later. This has been the Examine Life with Bram Levinson.